Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. President Trump and senior administration officials are pushing back on a leaked U.S. intelligence report that suggests the U.S. strikes on Iran only set back Iran's nuclear program by a few months. On Wednesday, CIA Director John Ratcliffe and Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard both insisted the strikes severely damaged Iran's nuclear program. In response to the leak, the White House has announced plans to limit sharing classified information with Congress. Earlier today, Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, issued a new video statement claiming victory over Israel and the U.S. while vowing Iran will never surrender.
First, I would like to congratulate them for victory over the fake regime of the Zionist regime. With all those claims that the Zionist regime were making, they almost were crushed under the blows of the Islamic government.
They were Khamenei's first public comments in over a week. Meanwhile, Iran's parliament has unanimously agreed to suspend all cooperation with the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, following the U.S. and Israeli attacks that killed at least 950 Iranians, according to one count. This is the Speaker of the Iranian parliament.
Despite the recent attacks on Iran's nuclear facilities, the International Atomic Energy Agency has not condemned them, not even superficially. It has undermined the agency's international credibility, and for this reason, the Atomic Energy Organization of Iran is suspending its cooperation with the International Atomic Energy Agency until the security of its nuclear facilities is guaranteed and Iran's peaceful nuclear program will proceed at a faster pace.
In other developments on Iran, Iranian state media reports authorities have arrested more than 700 people accused of having ties with Israel. At least 3 people were executed on Wednesday for allegedly collaborating with Israel. Officials in Gaza say Israeli forces have killed another 90 Palestinians over the last 24 hours, including dozens waiting near new food distribution centers. Israeli forces have killed over 550 people trying to access food aid over the past 4 weeks. Palestinians have described the aid sites as death traps.
We trusted the occupation soldiers after they told us to take the package. I walked past the tank and picked up the package, and suddenly they started shooting directly at us. The young men were ambushed and fell to the ground. Some were shot in the head, some in the feet.
In other news from Gaza, 7 Israeli soldiers were killed Wednesday when an explosive device was planted on their armored vehicle. It was the deadliest attack on Israeli forces in Gaza in months. Meanwhile, Israel's far-right National Security Minister, Itamar Ben-Gvir, is calling on Israel to halt all humanitarian aid into Gaza, despite warnings from the UN that the entire population of Gaza is at risk of famine. In the occupied West Bank, dozens of Israeli settlers attacked the town of Kafr Malek on Wednesday, setting homes and vehicles on fire, an attack that culminated in Israeli soldiers killing 3 Palestinians. Officials in the West Bank said the settlers were acting under the protection of the Israeli army. Meanwhile, Israeli forces fatally shot a 15-year-old Palestinian boy during a raid on Al-Yamoun. Meanwhile, President Trump's called for the immediate cancellation of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's corruption trial in Israel, which is set to resume on Monday. In a rambling social media post, Trump condemned the case against Netanyahu as a witch hunt and called for Netanyahu to be pardoned. On Capitol Hill, some Republican senators are continuing to hold up President Trump's budget bill over its proposed deep cuts to Medicaid. According to the Congressional Budget Office, the so-called One Big Beautiful Bill Act would slash Medicaid spending by nearly $800 billion over a decade, eliminating health insurance for some 10 million people. On Wednesday, Maine Republican Senator Susan Collins rejected a proposal to create a $15 billion relief fund for rural hospitals, saying it failed to make up for far greater cuts. Republican Senators Lisa Murkowski Murkowski and Josh Hawley have also expressed skepticism. Senate Democrats continue to condemn the budget bill. This is Connecticut Senator Chris Murphy.
What this bill represents is the biggest transfer of wealth from the poor and the middle class to the rich in the history of the country. Shame! Shame. Who's asking for that besides the billionaires and the corporations?
Grassroots groups representing poor and working families rallied on Capitol Hill Wednesday to demand no cuts to essential social programs like Medicaid and SNAP. This is Sarita Russell of the North Carolina activist group Action NC, whose family recently saw monthly food assistance benefits slashed from $440 a month to just $54 a month.
Our churches, which already struggles to keep their food pantries stocked, will be overwhelmed as more families turn to them for help. Our schools will see more children coming to class hungry, unable to focus on learning. Our homelessness population will grow more as families are forced to choose between rent or food. That ain't right.
The Trump administration said Wednesday it would relocate the Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, outside of Washington, D.C., and into the headquarters of the National Science Foundation in Alexandria, Virginia. The move will force some 1,800 NSF workers to relocate to new offices. The American Federation of Government Employees condemned the move, writing, quote, "NSF employees are being displaced with no plan, no communication, and no respect," unquote. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has withdrawn a U.S. pledge to fund the world's preeminent international vaccine organization as the Trump administration takes its campaign against vaccinations global. RFK Jr. claimed the organization, known as Gavi, the Vaccine Alliance, has, quote, ignored the science of vaccinating children. Gavi says it's helped vaccinate more than 1.1 billion children in dozens of lower-income countries, preventing nearly 19 million future deaths. On Wednesday, scientists at the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention rallied outside the agency's headquarters in Atlanta to protest the Trump administration's newly reconstituted vaccine advisory panel, which RFK Jr. stacked with unqualified appointees, many of them holding anti-vaccine views. This is Dr. Jody Guest, a professor of epidemiology at Emory University.
Science should serve the public, not politics. That public health is a right, not a luxury. And that people inside the agency must be allowed to do their work freely, transparently, and without fear. The stakes have never been higher. We all know vaccines save lives. Science protects communities, and public health is worth fighting for.
Later in the broadcast, we'll speak with Dr. Paul Offit, director of the Vaccine Education Center, author of numerous books, including Deadly Choices: How the Anti-Vaccine Movement Threatens Us All. In immigration news, the Trump administration is planning to reject refugee status for potentially hundreds of thousands of asylum seekers in the United States, making them immediately deportable as part of Trump's sweeping mass deportation efforts. That's according to CNN, which reports Trump's plan to fast-track deportations is aimed at immigrants who entered the U.S. outside an official port of entry and later applied for asylum. New Jersey Democratic Congresswoman LaMonica Macyver pleaded not guilty Wednesday to charges she assaulted an immigration officer during an official visit to a Newark ICE jail last month. The charges stem from a May 9th incident in which Congressmember Macyver and two other Democratic representatives sought to tour Delaney Hall, a private prison run by Geo Corporation under contract with ICE. A criminal complaint brought by President Trump's former personal attorney, Alina Habba, who's now serving as an interim federal attorney in New Jersey, accuses Congresswoman Macyver of slamming a federal agent with her forearm, forcibly grabbing him and striking another agent. Macyver insists she was the one roughed up by federal officers. She spoke to supporters following her arraignment Wednesday at a federal courthouse in Newark.
This is all about political intimidation. The Trump administration and his, him and his colleagues or cronies, whatever you want to call them, have weaponized the federal government. The facts are on our side. No matter what headline they tweet about, no matter what they put on their Twitter, we know that the facts are on my side.
Mayor Ras Baraka of Newark was also charged, but the charges have been dropped against him. The 3 Congress members were trying to protect him. A former Justice Department lawyer has filed a whistleblower complaint alleging Principal Associate Deputy Attorney General Emile Bovy conspired with other top officials on how to mislead courts about mass deportations and to potentially ignore judges' rulings outright. The complaint was filed by lawyer Erez Ruveni, who was fired in April after he admitted to a judge the Trump administration had mistakenly transferred Maryland father Kilmar Abrego Garcia to El Salvador's mega prison due to a, quote, administrative error. Ruveni filed the complaint ahead of the Senate confirmation hearings Wednesday for Bovy to serve as a judge on the 4th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals. This is Bovy under questioning from California Democratic Senator Adam Schiff.
Did you suggest, as Mr. Ruveni wrote, that DOJ would need to consider telling the courts you and ignore any such court order?
I did not suggest that there would be any need to consider ignoring court orders. At the point of that meeting, there were no court orders to discuss.
Well, did you suggest telling the courts in any manner?
I don't recall.
You just don't remember that.
And one of the world's richest men faced a wave of wedding crashers as activists in the canal city of Venice disrupted Jeff Bezos' nuptials this week to protest what they call Bezos' takeover of the famed city. Guests at the multi-million-dollar wedding between Bezos and former TV news anchor Lauren Sanchez include the Clintons, Oprah Winfrey, Ivanka Trump, Jared Kushner. On Monday, activists unfurled a giant banner on Venice's San Marco Square reading, "If you can rent Venice for your wedding, you can pay more tax." This is Simona Abate, a campaigner with Greenpeace Italy.
The problem is not the wedding. The problem is the system. We think that one big billionaire can't rent a city for his pleasure. We think that we need to tax the people that have a huge number of money and use this money for reduce the impact of climate change, to increase the healthcare system, to increase the welfare state.
And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman.
And I'm Nermeen Sheikh. Welcome to our listeners and viewers across the country and around the world.
Thanks for watching Democracy Now! On YouTube. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to make sure you never miss a video. And for more of our audience-supported journalism, go to democracynow.org, where you can download our news app, sign up for our newsletter, subscribe to the daily podcast, and so much more.